Governor Mike Huckabee. Governor, welcome back.
Governor, good to see you.
Well, thanks. I want to tell you, nobody ever showed up like that for anything I ever invited them to.
Although we did want to ask you how Chinese food was for Christmas Eve.
Yeah. It was wonderful. We had a great time, went to church on Christmas Eve for the service, and then on to Chinese food, our family tradition, and it was delicious.
Good. We had him on this weekend, Brian. You probably
like, what are you talking about?
And we said, what do you leave out for Santa? He leaves out a little extra Chinese food after the big meal.
Right.
We left him some General Chow chicken and a little bit of lo mein.
It's a nice change from cookies.
You know what I love?
Yeah.
I love Chungking because they put the bamboo shoots in top. It was kind of exciting because you dump it in and then you put the bamboo on top.
Yeah, I think the governor wants to talk about Israel.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
So, over the weekend, you basically said this is like a big middle finger, and now you see what's going on. Israel, it's getting deeper because Israel governor is saying this, idea that the White House is downplaying everything. Oh, we hardly knew about this. They have evidence suggesting President Obama directed this whole thing.
Well, silence is agreement, and by the U.S. being silent and abstaining, they did agree to it. And I do think that they helped orchestrate it. I think Israel will release that information. It's going to be very embarrassing. But let's back up and just remember what this is all about. They're trying to push Israel into accepting borders that would essentially be a suicide pact if Israel ever were to agree to it. And to say that Jerusalem should be divided, this is nonsense. Jerusalem has been the capital for only one people in its entire history, dating back 4,000 years, and that's the Jews. There's never been a Palestinian capital. There's never been an Arab capital in Jerusalem, ever. And so, for somehow to act like that part of Jerusalem should be divided up, and even for President Obama to suggest that the Western Wall, which is the one remaining part of the ancient temple, should be part of disputed territory. Here's what I'd love for President Obama to do. Go to Israel, or go to the Palestinian territory, either one, pick up a map made by the Palestinians and look for Israel on the map. You know what you won't find? It's not on there. You know why? Because the Palestinians don't think Israel should exist. You can't make peace with people who don't think you should even be alive.
Yeah, the Balfour Declaration didn't really work, so yet everyone's still going to bat for him. Here's the ramifications of the UN vote. The Jewish prayer at the Western Wall wouldn't happen. Potential boycotts of Israeli products, that could happen, the ramifications of this vote. Labeling settlement products and potential boycott of Israeli products, as well as monitoring Israeli actions. All these things could take place, but is there any teeth to this vote?
Well, let me just remind people, when you hear the word occupied, that's a misnomer. This isn't about occupation, it's about ownership. Israel owns this land. Their deed dates back 4,000 years to the time of Abraham. But if you want to put it in modern times, the deed to it goes back to the 1920s. Then when they had to continue to fight for it after it was not delivered, 6 million Jews were systematically murdered. Finally, the world got a little bit of a conscience and decided, well, we'll give them a piece of land. And they did. It was their own land. When you hear the word settlement, think of the word neighborhood, communities. Over 3.2 million Jews have made Aliyah, which means they've gone back to Israel to live and to establish as their homeland. They got to live somewhere. Where are they going to live? These settlements are not tent cities. These are very established, well-built neighborhoods. And I've been there going back for 43 years. I'll be there next week. I'm going to tell you something. Where they go, the desert blooms. It is a modern-day miracle to see what has happened in Israel.
Some people are talking about doing away with UN altogether. We had our own Charles Krauthammer on last night, and he sort of, I don't know if he was joking or being sort of half serious, saying that we should just turn the UN here in New York into condos, call them the Trump condos. What is your thought on the UN in general? I mean, it's been around now for, 71 years. Does it have the same impact that it originally did? Should we talk about doing away with it?
Yeah, we really should. I think we ought to get jackhammers, and we ought to jackhammer the whole thing off, float it into the East River, ask anybody who would like to host it to come pick it up, haul it off, and it'll be a lot easier to park in Manhattan after we get rid of it.
Governor, let's talk about what Donald Trump dealt with yesterday. It turns out President Obama going out, kicking and screaming to a degree. On the Axe Report, this podcast that David Axelrod does, he actually said that he thinks he could have beat Donald Trump because he would have been better at articulating the progressive message. And we know that Donald Trump politely disputes that. What do you think? He does have 50+ approval rating.
Yeah. what an insult to Hillary Clinton by Barack Obama to say, she's a loser, I'm a winner, she couldn't win, I would have won. I mean, if I were Hillary, I would be just livid that the president was making those statements. Secondly, let's not forget, he went out there and was giving a full-throated support for Hillary, and he couldn't push her over the top. So for him to say that he would have won, I mean, how vain must a person be in order to say that I would have won the election? Well, I think it's immaterial, and, you know, frankly, why would he say something like that?
Governor,
what point does it have?
What happened to just getting out of office gracefully? You've been a great governor of the state of Arkansas. You know what it's like to sort of pass the baton on to the next person coming in. What happened to that sort of statesmanship attitude?
I don't know. I mean, it was my feeling that when I left office, get off the stage, get out of the spotlight, get out of the way. Don't say anything. And I didn't. I haven't said anything about the governors after me since I left, because that's really not my place. I had almost 11 years in office. Leave it alone. Walk away.
Right.
Take a line from Ron Burgundy, that great television anchor. Stay classy.
All right. I got to bring it to one thing that I think that is really the story in this podcast. He said this about the fact that the Democrats can't take a southern state. If we can't find some way to break through what is a complicated history in the South and start winning races there and winning back southern white voters without betraying our commitment to civil rights and diversity, if we can do those things, then we can win elections. Is he indicating that that the Southern vote doesn't go to him or his predecessor or Hillary Clinton because of skin color?
Had nothing to do with it. I mean, how do you describe Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Ohio? Those aren't southern states. Look, the rejection of Barack Obama in the South had nothing to do with race. It had to do with policy. It had to do with his pushing an aggressive abortion position upon people who think that life is precious and sacred. It had pushing an idea that we could redefine marriage from a biblical standard. It had to do with wrecking and destroying the economy and seeing people whose jobs provided them less money after years than it did before. It had nothing to do with color. It had to do with the content of the policy and the disaster that it wrought.
Governor Mike Huckabee, we appreciate you coming in.
Good to see you,
Good to be
Governor.
with you guys.
Have a good day.